Is there any business arising from the minutes? Thank you. The next item is the mayor's report. I think it's fair to say we've been out in the town again as a group, and one of the pieces of business that we've been working on with both the region and some provincial expertise is the definition of the Centre of Excellence for Agriculture. And what we're trying to do is to make the language in that document more clear to the average person, and to make it less academic and more practical in its application. The good news about this consultation is that it's not costing the taxpayer any additional money. We had support from the region. They had the connections with Dr. Surgener, and John Nicoll and I met with him, and it was a very good meeting, very good outcome. So we'll bring more forward. We're actually looking for a further meeting, and then we'll be bringing a report to council. On September 16th, Mr. Nicoll and I attended the Grape Growers annual meeting. They had Tom Hicks as the special guest speaker. He's written this great song, "We Have Stronger Beer." It's amazing, having a stronger beer song at the wine annual meeting. But at any rate, he was a great speaker and spoke at length about his career and what a success he's been able to achieve. And they announced at that time that Jamie Slingerland is the Grape King for 2016, and he was formally installed later on the same day. On September 17th, I attended the first assembly at Twinney Valley Public School, and the Titans were all there on force, about 457 in total. And I don't know that I'll ever see the floor on the gym as shiny as it was that day. The school looks fabulous. The heritage wall that's in the front lobby they've done a really outstanding job, and they actually have 4 bells. And I've yet to find out what the 4th bell, which school the 4th bell was from, because there was never a bell in the Jordan School. Anyway, it's good to see that school operating, and the children were like a flock of birds out there in the morning. It was about 8:15 when I got there. It was really quite inspiring. On September 18th, I attended the grand opening of the Marilyn I. Walker School of Fine and Performing Arts. It was a wonderful turnout. Mr. and Mrs. Walker, Marilyn and Norris Walker were both in attendance, and the tour was just outstanding to see the Haircloth building to have reached such a high level of design and practicality in terms of the uses by Brock University. And we're, of course, going to benefit greatly from the First Ontario Performing Arts Centre. There is synergy between the two organizations, and I think we're very, very lucky in Niagara to have such a top-notch facility in our midst. September 19th, there were 6 councillors plus the CAO, interim CAO, and myself at the Lions Food Drive. We had a great time. We had lots of pictures taken, certainly lots of food donated. By mid-morning, they were really on the road to quite an advanced improvement over last year. So I know that the Lions and Community Care of West Niagara are very grateful for everyone's generosity. And it certainly was an example of neighbors looking after neighbors. Later that day, I attended the 60th anniversary of the Albright Centre, which is made up of Albright Gardens, the Adelheim Retirement and Assisted Living Facility, and the Long-Term Care Centre. And it was really quite a lovely afternoon, and there was considerable stories that were being told about Dr. Albright and his great vision for the stability and protection, really, of the retired ministers from the Trinity Presbytery. And there were many people there. It was really quite wonderful. There's going to be more detailed counselor report, under counselor reports, because people have been out and about, but overall, ladies and gentlemen, the council's active, and we're very happy to be out in the community, as I've said on many occasions. And I remind you that we live in Lincoln, where every citizen strives to be a good neighbor, and children are encouraged to achieve their very best. Thank you. There's no regional councilors report this evening, and I will start on my right for a change. Councillor Brunet, councilor reports. All right, moving along. Councillor Timmers.
Thank you, Mayor Easton. I just have one little announcement that on Saturday, October 3rd, will be Pioneer Day from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. with heritage displays and activities, and it's a great event, and hopefully everyone will remember and put that date on their calendar. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson. Councillor Foster.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Easton. I just wanted to point out I brought greetings on behalf of the municipality as well as the mayor and to the Lawn Bowling Club for their annual general meeting. And I told them that we absolutely adore working with them and that we enjoy coming for the lawn bowling match that we have every spring. And they're very much looking forward to having us back again next year. So anyway, thank you.
Very good. They're great teachers, too. Councillor Pachariva.
Yeah, I had the pleasure to attend the Niagara Ice Dog and Windsor Spitfire game last Wednesday night at the Fleming Center. Councillor Foster was there, Councillor McPherson, Councillor Renjima couldn't go, your worship was there. It was fantastic. It was a great game. The rink was full. You know, the comments from the players on you know, the ability to play in such a world-class facility was nice to hear. And Councillor Foster actually purchased me an adult beverage, so thank you very much, Councillor Foster. And then I received an email from Anne-Marie Noria at who's the clerk at the region, and I've been reappointed to the Cultural Committee. Region's Cultural Committee. There was a lapse because we had brought in the NIC program, Niagara Investment in Culture, and the timing of the election, we wanted some continuity in the committee's membership. So it didn't dissolve like most committees do when the election was held. It went over to July. So just a reminder, too, to any of Lincoln's cultural groups that the deadline for applying for the Niagara Investment in Culture Fund is October 15th. So I know a few years ago we did Art in the Village. You know, there was no applications in the first uptake from Lincoln, so it would be nice to see something come forward for this upcoming round.
Very good. Councillor Pachariva, pleased to hear that they've reappointed you. That's very good for us. Councillor Renjima.
Thank you, Mayor Easton. As the representative for the Lincoln Chamber of Commerce, I thought I'd talk a little bit about some of the events that the Chamber is putting on over the next month or so, a couple of months. When I'm out in the community, I hear comments from neighboring municipalities about the positive things that the Lincoln Chamber of Commerce is doing. It's very active. So one of the things, just the other day I was at a business after 5 that was held at Ore Wines on Walker Road, and there was representatives from the West Lincoln Chamber of Commerce and the Grimsby Chamber of Commerce there, and lots of business people, lots of networking going on. It's a very positive thing. The Chamber is holding an all-candidates meeting at the Lincoln Center for the federal election on October 6th. Tomorrow night there is a employment. The Employment Center is putting on a job fair at the Beacon. That's something that you might want to attend if you know anybody that was looking for a job. And what else? Then there's a number of networking breakfasts that the Chamber puts on. On November 11th, there's a networking breakfast at August Restaurant. They're always well attended. And there's a few more things going on after that, but I'll save that for next council meeting when they're coming up closer.
Thank you very
Christmas
much,
things.
Councillor.
Thank you.
Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Mayor Easton. Yes, on behalf of Councillor McMillan, who's away, I'm pleased to share with you the results of the Jordan Museum Master Plan meeting. We had a creative kickoff meeting that included many people, and we all squeezed our way into the little meeting room up on the top of the museum. We had representatives from the Jordan Historical Museum of the Twenty Valley Association. We had the chair of the Pennsylvania German Folklore Society. We had several members of both staff and council. And it was all facilitated by VG Architects. Did a very, very nice job of bringing everybody into the mix of the discussion. And it's really looking forward, what do we want in our Jordan Museum? How do we want it to be set up? And really starting from scratch. So there was a lot of great ideas exchanged. Really, we're looking at this as being a cultural gateway. That term was used many times in the discussion. It's a great opportunity to really enhance what is currently happening in Jordan and on the east end of Lincoln, and the feedback that came out of that meeting was very, very positive all around. The next steps, tomorrow, there is a follow-up meeting with staff, and this week on the 24th of September, there is a presentation of the first draft, so they're not wasting any time, getting right at it, and we can expect as a council to see a presentation, I believe, on the 19th of October. So things are going very quickly, and again, the whole feel of the meeting was very positive, lots of excitement about what it could be, and lots of great ideas on really making an impact on the historical Lincoln, in all of Lincoln, in its history. It is not just the Pennsylvania Germans, it's bringing all of our heritage back into to a museum and into a museum site. So thank you.
Very good, thank you. And Councillor Thompson, it sounds like when the time is right, we'll be having a very fulsome discussion at Community Services. We'll certainly all look forward to that. All right, now I have right out of the gate here, news from the clerk. Bells at Vineland Public School, now 20 Valley Public School. From the Vineland School, from Camden School, from Maple Grove School, and the fourth bell came from the old Jordan Station School, which closed in the 1980s. So they are all protected and they're all in a good space. So that's very good. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Now, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. Delegations, we have no delegations. We do have correspondence. The first item of correspondence is the 2015 Risk Management Symposium. I have a motion moved by Councillor Rinjima, seconded by Councillor Pachariva, that correspondence from LAS regarding an upcoming symposium on municipal risk management be received as information, and that the following councillors be authorized to attend with usual expenses to apply. Mr. Clerk, do you have any details?
Madam Mayor, this email was circulated to various members of council, and I believe there was some interest from potentially some councillors here going, and this is just being brought to council at this time to determine if those members are available to go. I believe councillors Rinjima and or Pachariva were interested or potentially interested.
Is that still the case, Councillor Pachariva? And I encouraged both of them to attend because of the content. There was a specific public works, an infrastructure element, and the other piece was related to finance and administration. All right, so Rinchima and Pachariva. Okay, those are the two. Do you want me to read that motion again? No, your pleasure on the motion? The motion is carried. And the next item is Association of Municipalities of Ontario. Re-support for Syrian refugee crisis, call to action. I have a motion moved by Councillor Timmers and seconded by Councillor Brunet that correspondence from the Association of Municipalities of Ontario re-support for Syrian refugee crisis call to action be received as information, and that a donation of $100 be made. Are there any comments to this motion? I can comment that within the last couple of weeks, we've had queries from the public about whether or not our municipality, whether the town of Lincoln, would be involved in responding to this crisis. And I corresponded with the Commissioner of Community Services at the region and was able to determine that they have a very formal process that deals with any kind of activity that is going to be taken. We still don't know whether the Canadian government is going to be receiving refugees or not. So unfortunately, the pain goes on for these people. However, I think if there is action going to be taken, it'll be through the usual channels, which is the churches and social groups. And I was able to send the information that I had from the region on through Councillor McPherson to one of his constituents. So, the pleasure on the motion. The motion is carried. Thank you. We move on now to reports, and we have the Infrastructure Committee meeting of September 9th. And I have a motion moved by Councillor Pachariva and seconded by Councillor Rinchima that the minutes of the Infrastructure Committee meeting of September 9th, 2015 be adopted and the recommendations contained therein be approved and acted upon. Councillor Pachariva.
Yes, Your Worship, thank you. We had Councillor Timmers sit in the evening for us for Councillor Brunet, who was away on business. So thank you, Lynn, for your attendance. Our first piece of correspondence was from WSP Canada with respect to the detailed design for the MTO truck inspection station on the north side of the QEW going westbound. To reconstruct 2 recessed lanes, install a new drainage system, install LED lights, new electrical heating system, install a changeable message sign and support structure, and to build new electrical shed to house sensors and equipment. All of these improvements will be contained within the ministry's right-of-way, and committee also discussed the potential of requesting monitoring strategies for trucks attempting to avoid the inspection station, resulting in shortcutting on our local roads. Our first report of the evening was with respect to the Jordan Village Secondary Plan. We had our Director of Planning and Development attend. Ms. Dale gave us a presentation on the Jordan Secondary Plan and Urban Design Guidelines. Rather than, and staff works collaboratively on a lot of these projects, but we're going to start having, I want to say, cross-pollinated committee meetings where Planning is here helping us with infrastructure and vice versa. And it was fantastic to have Ms. Dale there. The initial secondary plan for Vineland Jordan and Jordan Station was developed in 2006. It was to enhance the heritage character of the area, improve safety for both vehicles, pedestrians, and improve parking. So that was the genesis of that whole EA. So she brought us up to speed upon that. And it's funny because the initial proposal that we had put before us was closing Main Street and using 19th Street as the thoroughfare and have it signalized. That was theoretical, and there was some pushback at the time, but now that we've got the fire station in place, what is old is new again, because that's the preferred route for the fire services. So there's a working group that's been struck with both regional and town public works and planning staff to have a look at an alternative criteria and other options for the intersection alignment. So we had a very robust conversation at last month's infrastructure around the options of the intersection. We received the background. So now this working group will sit down and come up with some designs and options that we can all have a look at and then take to the public. Also, the future Jordan Historical Museum work also needs to be considered in the EA study. The next report that we received was with respect to the Glass Avenue Bridge improvements. That project's been awarded to Peninsula Construction, and this will include safety barricades and for the approaching motorists and crossing the bridge, so a guide rail system will be created. So if there is a potential of a motorist leaving the roadway, they'll be held within the structure. And that came in under budget. We also, our next report was with respect to the winter maintenance operations, the expansion of our snow fencing program. So in 2011, the town instituted a pilot project for snow fencing, and it's proved to be immediately successful. In 2013, the snow fence has been installed at a number of key locations, and this is going to be phased in and ramping it up over a 4-year time period. So we received a list of the current snow fence locations. We talked about the installation, how a contractor comes in and installs the metal posts, and then the snow fence is put in, and then we're going to be adding another 1,280 meters of snow fencing on various roads in the town. We had maybe a robust discussion is a good word, about alternatives to snow fencing. There's the living snow fence, whether that's leaving in rows of corn and having, paying farmers to leave that in and act as a natural snow break. There's also the potential for trees to be put in. This is one of my little pet peeves, I guess, projects run along with fiberglass bridges. So I'm going to do some due diligence. There's a lot of municipalities in Ontario that use this. We'll have some consultation, with the farmers, see if this is viable. Driving along King Street in between Mountain View and 30 Road, there's the field to the south of King Street that's been dug down. It's planted with corn. When you drive through there in the winter, much like Councillor Timmer's section on Camden Road, it's a virtual winter wonderland whiteout as the snow blows across the road. Fantastic place to go and do this as a pilot project. And we also, in part of the reports that I was looking at, City of Hamilton has used some of this on their roads, and what they've done is that they've actually used hay bales and put the snow fence on top of the hay bales, anchored them with concrete blocks, because if the field's too wet, sometimes you can't get in, and you know, you cause a lot of damage. So there's a lot of things that we can do to improve on this, and whether it's living snow fence or regular snow fence, it just cuts down on the amount of drifting. So we don't continually have to go up there with the plows, put a lot of strain on our staff by continually going to the same problem areas. And we also requested that a portion of Philp Road from Mountain Street easterly to the Bush area be added to the list. And then two, with this program, we've got to go, and it came up with committee, got to go and do periodic checks, because the snow fence can be installed in the fall, but if it falls down over the course of the winter, not really doing its job. So we've got to periodically check that. Our next report, and this was really something exciting, was a proposed Snow Buddies pilot program, sidewalks clearing for seniors. This was going to leverage volunteerism and snow clearing for senior citizens in our town. We're going to partner with Community Support Services of Niagara. They presently do a Leaf and a Snow Buddy program. It gives students and adults the opportunity to match them with a senior. And then what they'll do is it's a great opportunity for the students to gain volunteer experience and hours and help out in their community. And currently this program's already underway in St. Catharines, Niagara Falls, Pelham, Welland, Port Colborne, and Fort Erie. So this is just taking a best practice that's out there and doing it in our town. And the CSSN administers all of this. So the only requirements from the town is we need to provide a shovel and some salt material for each volunteer. So I think this is a really good program that we're going to launch here with the CSSN, and I look forward to it happening this year. Our next report was with respect to an unannounced inspection by the Ministry of the Environment and Climatic Change with respect to the Beamsa Water Distribution System and Jordan Vineland Water Distribution in mid-July and early August. It's a much more thorough inspection and it's detail-focused. Town received a 98% rating on both of its systems, so that is fantastic. So, we made note that night, and I'd just like to do that again, is that to Mr. Graham, our Director of Public Works, who's been kind of wearing about 3 hats right now. Please, David, thank the staff for the fantastic job that they're doing, because this is, a dynamite score, and it really shows due diligence in our water system that we have. Next piece that we received was a report with respect to frozen water services. I know we've just gone through a couple weeks of beautiful hot humid weather, but if we can remember back into January and February with the polar vortex that embraced not only the town of Lincoln but that of Niagara, there was a lot of frozen water services experienced. Granted, we didn't have the number of close to 1,000 in the city of Hamilton, but that's because of our rapid replacement of aged infrastructure here in the town. We did have a few properties, and what we did is there was a temporary bypass hose connection to the neighbors that had frozen services, and we went through some billing, and we made adjustments to the tune of $1,500 to the 12 properties that allowed water to go to their neighbors. And then there was another 10 properties that had an adjustment of $375 because they left the water running to ensure it wouldn't refreeze. So this is just another one of those good news stories of, you're given a chance to help out your neighbor. People stepped up. They didn't have to do this, but they did. And it's just another reason why, town of Lincoln and the mayor, you always say this in your mayor's report, it's a great place to live. And you know what, when really asked upon, people step up, much like community care, the event on the weekend. And they did say that all of us there were we were part of that. So this again is just another extension of helping your neighbors. So it was a fantastic meeting.
Very good, Councillor. Any questions from council? All right, we have the motion. There being no questions, your pleasure on the motion? The motion is carried. The next item on the agenda is the Economic Development and Planning Committee minutes, and I have a motion moved by Councillor Foster and seconded by Councillor Thompson that the minutes of the Economic Development and Planning Committee meeting of September the 14th, 2015 be adopted and the recommendations contained therein be approved and acted upon. Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Mayor Easton. Just a quick comment before I say anything. The concept of this cross-pollination, as Councillor Patrieva says, is a good idea, and you know, it's appropriate for the Public Works / Infrastructure Committee to have planning staff when you start getting into some more complex issues on the thing. And just in a similar vein, both the Committee of Adjustment and Planning every once in a while get into some fairly complex planning issues that are coming on where input from the Public Works Department is quite critical. So, and we don't always have them at those meetings, but again, it would be a good idea, particularly, and I mean, I leave it up to the Director of Planning to make sure that you know, if any of Dave's staff are required to be there, that they would be called upon. But anyway, that's good that happened, and it was good that you guys got the secondary plan in place to have a look at. Our planning meeting, planning, of course, is never quite as exciting. I guess maybe I'm being me being the chair as opposed to Councillor Patrieva. But anyway, we had 3 delegations come forward at our meeting. The Parkbridge Lifestyle community, or the changes that were going on there were 3 delegations. One didn't show up, but discussions that were going on in that area coming in favor of what was going on. So the Parkridge Lifestyle, it was a modification from relatively high density, a care-assisted type of a facility that was going to be going in place. It's being changed now to rezoning to more of a townhouse area type of thing. The people were there giving their reasons. I think an awful lot of it is economic that's coming into play that they were seeing with this. So be that as it may, they're a big business, and so they've decided this is the route that they're going to be taking. One of the things that was clearly discussed in our meeting, however, is we need to have much more discussion over what we see in the future for our municipality as far as these types of facilities. Really, right now, our official plan is a little bit on the silent side when it comes to what we're doing for seniors, what we're doing for basically this type of assistance, type of living within the community. We need to have a real good look at that and make sure that we have strong statements put forward. So I give that as a challenge to our council over the rest of our mandate to take a good look at our official plan again and make sure that some of these areas are clearly thought out so we can have very strong opinions when it comes to this type of a change going in place. We had a letter of credit or line of credit reduction for Oak Lane Family Holdings. That was done. That's pretty much a standard item. We had a status report of the plans of subdivision and site-specific residential development, our so-called COOL report. So we had that come forward for us as well. We also had a summary of the community improvement plan applications that we've had within Lincoln. Of course, the vast majority of them up to this particular point have been the Beamsville area. A lot of that has been facade improvements, and also there's been some development improvements within the Beamsville area as well. But there's uptake that's going on, and as we go down the road with the Prudham's community improvement plan, I'm sure we will see even more in the future. Councillor Njima brought forward under new business the fact that as a town, we've made a considerable investment now in LED lighting, and the fact that we're moving forward to make significant changes to lights across the municipality. So we're recommending that we should be incorporating LED into our planning standards, and we'll be expecting a report back from staff at a future planning meeting to talk about that. And in fact, we really need to have a good look at our planning standards in general, as well as a committee. So that's pretty much it. And the length of the meeting was exactly the same as the infrastructure meeting. Thank you.
I'm not sure. I don't know what that means. I know that they were two full agendas, and they were very, very good meetings. Councillor Thompson, you had comment.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just through you, I just wanted to express the concern that I had in regards to the Cherry Hill development and the fact that we'd be losing spaces for not long-term care but assisted living care kind of scenarios. And the economic impacts of not having a doctor's office and convenience store and pharmacy within that facility. So I will be voting to accept the minutes, but I still am opposed to the change in the zoning area there. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. The motion as read. Any comments, any further comments? And your pleasure on the motion. Thank you. The motion is carried. Next item on the agenda, Report AD 1505, Department and Director Title Change. I have a motion moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Foster, that Report AD 15-05, Redepartment and Director Title Change be received as information, and that the Community Services Department and Director's position titles be amended to Leisure and Cultural Services Department and Director of Leisure and Cultural Services, respectively, effective October the 13th, 2015. Any questions to the motion? Councillor Thompson.
Yes, Madam Mayor, will we be changing the name of the committee that attaches itself to that particular department, or are we going to maintain the same nomenclature there?
Through you, Your Worship, that's really the titles of standing committees are the prerogative of council, of course, but it doesn't necessarily mandate that a change in the department or the director necessitate a change in the standing committee. And I think we have that now with our infrastructure committee, for example, and we also have planning and economic development. So it's quite common here that the standing committee doesn't necessarily reflect the department. Same really for F&A, Finance and Administration as well too, which takes in not just finance but corporate services.
So if that's something that you want to table, Mr. Chairman. Councillor Foster?
That's fine, actually.
All right. Very good. Councillor Foster.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Easton. I'm always a little surprised with this type of a motion coming through at the council level as opposed to being discussed either at our business planning or perhaps even coming through the committee that normally is responsible for this. And and the single reason is that I can see the merits of changing this particular name at this point in time. But I also believe that community services also has a strong active meaning within the community as well. And I'm just a little surprised that this kind of gets dropped on us at a council meeting as opposed to going through the normal process that we would follow with this. So perhaps that's a question to through to you, Madam Mayor, to the CAO. But my preference would be not to approve this evening and send it back to committee so we can have a good discussion about it and just make sure that this is really what it is that we want to do. Thank you.
Mr. Nicol, please
Yes,
respond.
Your Worship, thank you. I think Councillor Foster raises a very good issue. The reason why it didn't go through committee, and I did, of course, discussed it with the mayor and the committee chair, is the fact that we are anxious to post the position. as well as the fact that the department just completed a strategic planning session involving all their management staff. And that report is coming to the next Community Services Committee meeting, but it's the consensus of the management staff in the department, as well as myself, that based on Council's strategic plan, as well as their own strategic session and based on research as well as what's happened in the field, is that they recommended the change in title, and I'd prefer to put it out with a change in title during the recruitment process, as opposed to look at that after the process. So as Council's aware, the position's going to become vacant at the end of the day on October 9th, and it's for that reason that you see I've said the effective date of the change to be October 13th. But I would like to, of course, to advertise as soon as possible. In fact, this week I'd like to advertise, and I also think the new title will perhaps attract candidates as well too.
Any response, Councillor Foster?
I still think it's worth having a discussion on this, so I'm going to bring a motion, if someone else will sign it, to table this to the Community Services Committee meeting. So,
And in the meantime, is it Council's wish that the posting that Mr. Nicol is referring to is to go under the current title, Director of Community Services, Councillor McPherson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't see why not. I would also support a discussion around the title. I certainly get the cultural side of it, that we want to isolate that or at least promote that, but I'm not sure I see leisure as being the best title for this position. I don't know if that's something to. I don't know where that would have come from, if that was just the group that got together to come up with that name, but then I would look at maybe a more progressive title than leisure. But again, I would support Councillor Foster's suggestion that we talk about this at a Community Services Committee meeting, and but that this does not necessarily need to hold up the ad for a new person.
Very good. Any other comments? I have a motion then moved by Councillor Foster and seconded by Councillor Timmers that we refer department and director title change to the next Community Services meeting. And because this is a referral, there is no debate. The pleasure on the motion. Motion's carried. And we have before us the original motion moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Foster, that report AD 15-05 redepartment and director title change be received as information, and that the Community Services Department and director's position titles be amended to Leisure and Cultural Services Department and Director of Leisure and Cultural Services effective October 13, 2015. I'm sorry. My apologies. I didn't hear your whispering. Pardon me. Yes, Councillor Foster.
So I realize this is a quandary for staff because we don't have the title change at this particular point in time, but you could probably, from an advertising point of view, combine some of that within the thing. I mean, it is the Community Services Department responsible for leisure and cultural, blah, 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 et cetera. I mean, I think you can build a very nice description that will go along with that to actually take care of what you want, and then we can have the discussion at our next meeting. Thank you.
Very good. We're moving on now to bylaws. We have a motion moved by Councillor Brunet, seconded by Councillor Timmers, that leave be given to introduce the following bylaws, number 2015-63-Z466, to amend zoning bylaw number 93-14-Z1 as amended of the Town of Lincoln Park Bridge Lifestyle Communities Limited. And number 2015-64, to authorize the acceptance of an easement from Leanne Venny and Viatur Venny. Questions to the motion? The pleasure on the motion? The motion is carried. And I have a motion moved by Councillor McPherson and seconded by Councillor Pachuriva that bylaws number 2015-63-Z466 and 2015-64 read a first time be now read a second and third time and finally passed, and that the mayor and clerk sign and seal the said bylaws. Any questions to the motion? Your pleasure on the motion? The motion is carried. And the next item on the agenda is notice of motion. Councillor Foster.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Easton. I've been noticing recently changes have been undertaken in urban road speeds in municipalities right across Ontario. The City of Toronto, for instance, have well over 300 kilometers now that they've reduced to 30 kilometers per hour. Quite a number of articles in the Toronto Star and the Globe and Mail on this particular thing recently. And personally, I've been examining municipalities between here and Kincardine with the speed limits that they're following within the urban boundaries, and all of them have reduced them to 40 kilometers per hour. So I'll be moving, and Councillor Rinchin will be seconding at our next council meeting the following motion: lowering speed limits in urban areas of Lincoln. Whereas lower speeds are known to reduce sharply the risk to pedestrians and cyclists in the event of a crash, and whereas a person hit at 32 kilometers per hour has a 95% chance of survival, according to data cited by the U.S. Department of Transportation, while their odds drop to 60% if hit at 48 kilometers per hour. And whereas urban residential street automobile speeds has been and continues to be a concern expressed to all members of council, now therefore be it resolved that Lincoln Council will reduce the speed limits to 40 kilometers per hour within the urban boundaries of the town for the appropriate municipal roads commencing January the 1st, 2016, and that a public meeting be scheduled as part of the Infrastructure Committee to solicit feedback on this change and to help guide staff on municipal roads that should not receive this speed reduction. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Foster. We'll wait for our debate on that when you bring it forward. Councillors, we're moving on to announcements. Any announcements? Nothing. I have an announcement regarding the 2016 pre-budget discussions, which is of importance to any of the public who are watching our meeting this evening. This notice is advertised in the newspapers. It's on the town website. The first meeting is Wednesday, September the 23rd from 7 to 9 at the Jordan Fire Station at 3763 19th Street in Jordan. And the second meeting is Thursday, September the 24th, 2015 from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Fleming Center, 5020 Serena Drive in Beamsville. If you can't make it to either of the open houses, please send us your comments and suggestions to budget@lincoln.ca or complete our online survey at www.lincoln.ca. I'm very pleased, Mr. Nicol, that the staff have been able to support council's wishes in having these budget meetings prior to our deliberations. It seems the most appropriate and opportune time to get public opinion, and we certainly hope to see many of you at those evening sessions. Councillors, any comments? Nothing more? All right. We'll see what happens. Last year we did very well. I think our participation doubled. So I know those numbers are obviously, they're usually very small, but I think this is going, people's interest is peaking on this matter. Mr. Nichol?
Yes, could I just mention as well for the audience, Your Worship, that unlike a council meeting, there's no worry about having to appear to speak publicly as a delegation or anything like that, that this is going to be rather more informal, that you get a chance to speak with any councillor or councillors that you would like to speak to privately and ask questions, as well as staff will be there to answer any questions they may have. But it's just really very informal that they can go around. There's going to be some very interesting staff booths set up. There's going to volunteer firefighter applications. There's going to be the LED display of the new lighting that's coming forward. But we want to stress to the public that it's a very carefree type of informal event that we still like to hear from them. So very different from what we've had in the past.
Very good, Mr. Nichol. That's all very helpful and encouraging. We certainly do want to welcome everyone. We have no closed session this evening. We have a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council. A motion moved by Councillor Pachariva and seconded by Councillor Ringima that leave be given to introduce the following bylaw, number 2015-65, to adopt, confirm, and ratify matters dealt with by council resolution. With pleasure on the motion. The motion is carried. And a motion moved by Councillor Pachariva, seconded by Councillor McPherson, that bylaw number 2015-65 read a first time be now read a second and third time, and finally passed, and that the mayor and clerk sign and seal the said bylaw. Your pleasure on the motion, councillors. The motion is carried. And ladies and gentlemen, the published agenda and the meeting, the proceedings of this meeting having been completed, the meeting is adjourned.